Welcome back, guys. So for our last quarantine pantry raid video, we used simple staples to make a homemade 10-minute pie crust. Today we're gonna do something very similar. Kind of a recipe that I think is fun for everyone if you're stuck at home with the kids or just want to make some comfort food. A lot of us have bananas on hand. So I'm gonna make healthy, delicious banana chocolate chip muffin. The thing is the versatility of this recipe. You will see there are so many substitutions that you can make. But the main one I will show you in 2 seconds. It is a substitution for an ingredient that I think a lot of us might be having trouble finding right now. What with the quarantine, a lot of the stores are out of basic staples. The first ingredient is 1/3 of a cup of melted coconut oil. You can also substitute olive oil, but I found that for baking something sweet like this, like you can certainly do that in a pinch, but it does have a little more of like a peppery taste depending on the olive oil, so it's not ideal, but it's likely that, you know, the taste will be hidden in the muffins. So, excuse me, the second ingredient is a 1/2 cup of maple syrup. Again, you can definitely substitute honey in here or even sugar. We're kind of, with this recipe, because it is a little healthier, we're trying to stay away from white sugar, but okay, let's see, we added a 1/2 cup, so I would even say, like, because white crystallized sugar is so much more potent, you could definitely do like a 1/4 cup of sugar itself because it's so much sweeter. All right, so time for our special ingredient. This is something that my husband went out to like 4 stores yesterday all across Las Vegas, and apparently everywhere is out of eggs. I don't know when stores are going to be getting them again soon, but I do remember, and this is my first time trying it, but I had heard that there's a lot of, especially in baking because the flavor gets hidden, there are a lot of like substitutions for eggs. So I knew I had ground flaxseed in my pantry on hand. I've also heard that you can use applesauce because it has kind of like that, I don't know, gelatinous taste, more like texture. And anyway, so the flaxseed thing is what I'm trying. So basically, this is for 1 egg. When I looked it up, they said it is 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed to 3 tablespoons water. So for this recipe, it called for 2 eggs. So simple math, I have 6 tablespoons of water right here, which I'm gonna add to my wet mixture. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. I put that under there because it wasn't as cute with all my other stuff. But now we'll see if I can actually open this. There you go. The cool thing about ground flaxseed is I think it says like best by March 2024, so it lasts forever. So even if you use it in like smoothies, it's gonna last you a long time. And you really don't taste it. At first I was like, what is that? I did not want to put that anywhere near my oatmeal or whatever, smoothies, but you don't taste it. Just adds a lot of fiber, and in this case, it replicates eggs. You know what I just realized as I'm doing this? I probably should have whisked those together, but you know what? We're gonna do this and hope that it works. So this is another example of kind of winging it. I thought I had everything kind of set up beforehand, but one thing I'm realizing is I did not mash these before. Once upon a time I had a mashed potato little masher, I don't even know the name for that, but I am going to use this meat tenderizer instead and mash them up. Alright, so now I'm going to add my mashed makeshift bananas into these wet mixture here. Alright, so now we're going to do the remainder of the wet mixture. So we need a 1/4 cup of milk, which milk is like the most versatile thing. You can use non-dairy milk. I've said before you can use soy milk, which I feel like is a little more flavored. I like almond or even coconut for baking, but this is just traditional dairy milk. We actually, I don't know how we located milk because that's another thing that seems to be like super out in a lot of the grocery stores. Okay, so 1 teaspoon baking soda and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. The thing I love about making muffins like these is they're just so homey and comforting, and they make the whole house smell so amazing. My mom used to make them growing up. Just something about coming home. It reminds me of like coming back from school and smelling the whole house just smell amazing, and all these amazing spices. Half a teaspoon of salt, which I have here. And actually, salt is one thing that I feel like you can add a little more of to recipes. It seems like counterintuitive because these are sweet muffins, but it's kind of like that sweet and salty, savory mixture, which I love. So the last other thing we're gonna have in this wet mixture is a half a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. The recipe itself actually called for, what did I say, half a teaspoon? It called for cinnamon, but I like the pumpkin pie spice because it has nutmeg in it. So it just adds a little something. All right, so here is our wet recipe, our wet portion of the recipe, that is. And now it's time for the dry. Okay, so now we have our final step before we pop these muffins in the oven. We are going to add the dry mixture. I know a lot of people like to mix them up separately. I have, let's see here, 1 3/4 cup of flour. Again, the flour can be very flexible. I happen to have whole wheat on hand, but I think pretty much any flour would work for these muffins. Whole wheat is a little, as long as you don't have celiac disease, a little healthier, I think. And then here's another substitution. It called for steel cut oats, but I like literally had nothing but instant oatmeal on hand. So this is like maple flavored, but it's half a cup. I think it'll just add a little bit of a extra layer of taste, but you know, you work with what you have on hand. So I'm gonna mix these together. Now I'm gonna add my dry portion to the wet. Again, I'm gonna use my KitchenAid mixer to blend this all really well. I'm a huge fan of that. But if you don't have the mixer, I wouldn't worry about it. You can certainly, you know, mix it with your hands, get a little messy, have your kids help you with this. So you can leave it at this. Like, you can just have these muffins as is. You can leave them banana muffins, but I like to add chocolate. You know, we're quarantined, we're locked inside, a lot of us, and I think simple pleasures, right? So here, I don't even know, I just kind of eyeballed this, but it was about half a bag of chocolate chips. Depending on how much you like chocolate, you can add more or less. I think early on when I first started baking, I would always add like as much chocolate as possible, but I actually kind of realized there's like a strategy to it, because you want like each bite to have, I don't know, I'm sure there's some like magic ratio, but you know, you don't want it to be overwhelmingly chocolate. And these are going to be amazing and moist because of the coconut oil, and bravissimo. Anyway, so this is all done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys next them nice and prepared in the muffin tin, which I pre-greased. And then I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit of turbinado sugar, which will just make them have this like caramelized crust. It's going to be so good. So now we have all of this together. I combined the wet and the dry. These muffins are looking amazing. One of the best things about these muffins were unintentionally, well, they weren't vegan because I used real dairy milk, but they could certainly really easily be vegan. You could use, they have vegan chocolate chips, you could use non-dairy milk. Obviously we omitted the eggs, not by design on my part, but we were just out of them. But you don't have to worry about salmonella, so I'm a big fan of dough. So good. I just took these out. They are looking amazing. The caramelized crust is just, it totally worked. Oh, there's my oven. You can hear it beeping in the background. They look amazing. I was a little worried about not using eggs because I've never used this as an experiment before baking, but they couldn't look more you know, they feel moist, but like firm at the same time, if that makes sense. Bon appetit.